Build India Vision, an initiative by FOAID. Exclusive media partner, CNBC TV18.
The Festival of Architecture and Interior Designing, or FOAID 2024, at its Mumbai edition, celebrated the theme, Creativity Worth Celebrating, showcasing innovation and artistry in architecture and design. Parallel to the main event, the Build India Vision Summit took center stage, a powerhouse platform that drove conversations on the future of construction, infrastructure, and urban design in India. Bringing together top architects, builders, policymakers, and innovators, the Build India Vision Summit explored groundbreaking strategies, cutting-edge technologies, and sustainable solutions to shape a resilient and progressive India. The Build India Vision Summit 2024 was supported by leading brands, driving product innovations for a cleaner, greener, and more sustainable future, showcasing cutting-edge solutions across diverse industries. The summit kicked off with a thought-provoking discussion on people, planet, profit, rethinking sustainability and housing, exploring how innovative strategies can harmonize environmental responsibility with economic growth.
These are questions that I think we would like to ask is, can consumer perspective influence sustainability? Second is, what is the impact of architecture on housing design? And I'm talking about passive impact, passive design. Can we close the gap between cost and profitability? The general kind of notion of most developers is that sustainable housing costs more, and which is why they kind of shy away from it. And I think, that is something that we should throw some light on.
What is happening at the moment, we sell about 20,000 homes a year, which is 35, 36 homes a day. So it's a machine. And we end up meeting maybe 2 lakh customers a year, right? Saying, what do you want? The first foremost, they go for location. Then they look at their pocket and they're looking at affordability, saying we want this location for this ticket size. Then they have growing aspiration, lifestyle. So they look at amenities, saying, what can this give me? They even don't look outside, whether they're schools or they're hospitals or there are hotels. They're focused very much within the complex, what their pocket can afford. And then you add sustainability or greening, it doesn't even occur to them. I mean, you have to force feed them saying this building is green. And they're saying, so what does it mean for me, right? They don't really care at the moment. It's very unlike office where the customer is driving the demand for green building.
So if you look at it from the sales and marketing point of view, what he said is absolutely right. But if you look at it from a normal person point of view, there is a convergence. And I'll tell you, they don't understand sustainability in the way we are trying to sell it to them, but they understand it from the perspective of, whether I'll have challenges with water, whether my waste will get segregated or picked up, whether I will get good food nearby, maybe an organic store nearby, whether my house is ventilated, whether I'll feel cool and good inside the house, whether this house is going to make me sick. And I think these are certain ideas that many people are now thinking about. And they don't know that it is sustainable or green, but they know that there is something really off with their lives.
Coming to you, Anand, like you've been with the organization for a long time, that you've seen how the movement started to where it is now. So do you think IGBC in its own way has enabled market transformation more so with, the green homes rating coming out?
We don't talk about sustainability in a very checklist-based or energy modeling, all that. We say India has a rich culture and heritage of 10,000 years on a conservative basis. And then 5 elements of nature is the cornerstone for IGBC, or bedrock for the IGBC's Green Home Rating Program. The 5 elements of nature are Panchaputas. Then we say that we wanted to construct and live in a building which is in harmony with nature. We are not saying the jargons like COP or U value. So a green home, as far as IGBC is concerned, is the moment a owner walks into the newly purchased green home, should bring in a delight when you walk in, peace and serenity when you live. you should feel bad when you leave out of the home actually.
I really like to resonate with what Shobit said, that we are far, far away from really getting that pull in to buy, for the end users to buy the green buildings. Uh, uh, to an extent, I'm almost like convinced that if you want to fast track the project, push is the only way, with all the policies and stuff coming in. Because if you want to pull, my analysis says, I'm also a teacher. So if you want to build green, you need to think green. And if you want to think green, you need to learn green.
People might not know what will happen when 1.5 degrees is breached. People might not know what are the 6 greenhouse gases. But they know things like where will my water come from tomorrow? What is the situation with bad air quality? They know these things, right? But here's the question, right? And this is a great conference to ask this question. 25 years ago, how many homeowners knew the idea of modular kitchen? So it's the same thing. When it comes to sustainability, why are we saying that a buyer should ask, buyer nahi puch raha hai, hum kyun karenge? Builders cannot hide behind that, saying that buyer is not asking, hence I won't do.
The advantage of our company Shobha is everything is done in-house. If at all I have to do a net zero project in Bangalore, I can build only 0.5 FSI. Okay? Whereas 4 FSI is allowed. So there is a big gap between the expectations and the approvals being given departments. When 4 FSI can be constructed, which builder will build 0.5 FSI? Tell me. A person next to me is building and selling at a price where if I build 0.5 FSI, I have to sell at 3x price. Will I be able to sell? My product will not be sold. So we need to think differently. How can we reduce the consumption? Can we reduce the consumption? Can we maximize the reuse? Then can we increase our harvesting capacity? This is the way forward which was it.
Next, experts offered insights into the big urban dilemma. Are Indian cities ready for tomorrow? Addressing the challenges and opportunities in preparing urban spaces for a rapidly evolving future.
Gulam, I'm going to talk to you immediately in terms of the support that the city needs to give to these people to come in. With your decades of being in the realty space, extensive research on the subject, looking at new forms and new urban areas of development. We're talking nationally. We're not talking about Mumbai. Yeah. What are your views on planned versus organic growth?
The biggest issue that we have faced is absolute failure of master planning all through. Now, I don't want to get into because I'm told that you're not sitting here cribbing about it. We'll have to see the way forward. But from there will emerge a way to look forward, because where we have failed is where we would want to, cover up. And since you asked a specific question about, incremental improvement or a bulk of a complete turnaround, here comes a question. Today, when we are looking at, a few of these infrastructure pieces globally, we are creating infrastructure for less 50 or 75 or 100 years. Unfortunately, our whole focus is so myopic that we are talking about creating infrastructure for today.
Our suburban rail system is, you just mentioned, almost 4,000 people die. Still, that is the most used and most popular transport. Even I am having rail pass because that has become easier, especially during certain time of the day. So, when we talk of urbanized, you said it's the solution and not a problem. But sometimes, solution becomes a problem. So certain solutions which has been enforced on us, which has been thrust upon us, is the problem. When we talk of metro especially, it is not that we are cribbing, we are protesting against something, but everybody has a say in any city. But here, all projects, even today, it is looked at, my next election is 2029, what I can do in 2029.
For me, I feel quality of life is directly proportional to the walkability in a city. And I think that is directly connected to sustainability at a public level, because we all look at sustainability as architects within, parcels of land. but what happens to the public domain, which is actually a no man's land. And I think that no man's land needs to become some man's land. And that's the only way we are going to actually improve the quality of life, when we create a seamless transition between our private domain to our public domain. And that's when we would have achieved something.
Build India Vision, an initiative by FOAID. Exclusive media partner, CNBC TV18.
The conversations at Build India Vision 2024 continued with a discussion on the topic redefining urban living, creating spaces to live, work and play.
So we're talking about this whole Vision 2040 kind of a whole theme and idea. So, Lovely, will you be able to sort of take us through this whole idea of how, is this idea of smart, this whole idea of smart cities?
So the issue where we are facing in every town of the country, whether it's a C grade town, B grade town, or A grade town, is basically interfacing between house and the city. What's happened, that we all architects or engineers puts a lot of efforts to create a building. But the city is basically, if you see, the outcome of multiple buildings. So buildings in isolation is very nice. We put all the efforts, make sustainable, make, naturally ventilated, lighting, and, material and everything. But who is the body, who is the governance structure is talking about the same thing on the cities? So it's a big question. No one is talking about a city as a whole.
So therefore, when I'm looking at, Prashant, if I have to pick up from where you are, this whole idea of mixed use, because our cities were mixed use. Now we're trying to say our buildings are mixed use, but the cities are on a grid plan where you just color one block of it. So how does that really work?
Coming to the idea of mixed use, so some of the solutions, again, taking the example of Raipur, I would say, there have been some private initiatives where people realize that it being a small city of about, say, 2 million people, so quite a smaller city, if I would say. So they would reach from one end of the city to the other end in about, say, 20-30 minutes. And they would enjoy the quality of life because they all were living in smaller homes and their workspaces in the center of the town. Now, the problem started because there were no parking spaces. So they replicated the market which was there right in the heart of the city to outside the city. And trust me, it all gets sold out very quickly. So as I see the model of mixed use, where you have everything in one place, is not really taken off in smaller cities.
I come from a city which was planned in the year 1727, as you mentioned, 350 years old, Vidyadhar Bhattacharya, who was absolutely from a different culture, from a Bengali culture, was coming into the Shekhavatis or the royal culture of Rajasthan. And then with his wisdom of mathematics and all, he said, I wanted to create everything in a grid iron pattern so that, direction to the entire city becomes very user-friendly. And not to, unlike Delhi, when if I'm in the Connaught Place, and I want to go to Dhulakua, my sense of direction doesn't work.
You talked of being traditional, continuous. If you see the society of Bharat, of Bhartiyata and Bharatiya society, it always meant that it evolved continuously. There was a chain of evolution that was existing continuously since perpetual times, since Vedic civilization and since, so many yugas, what you call, and so on all. But this chain of evolution was broken by the British invasion because we became mental slaves of that mentality and that thought process, apart from economic degradation that happened. So if we put this all in perspective and base our cities not on a model which is Western, but based on the model of what India was, Sone ki Chidiya, whatever you used to call. Why can we not bring it back? Because we are going wrong in our fundamental thought process.
When we are saying 2047, so we're talking about urban resilient infrastructure. We're talking about regeneration. We're talking about sustainability principles getting adopted. So what we did was we exactly started off with these principles on a master plan. And at a city level, which is around a 50 acre of development, very close to this area in Vikhroli, we tried and worked together and saw over a period of time how we could develop this into a great example, which the cities or the local wards could adapt. Because as we all know, the Mumbai city is full of wards. And if decentralized infrastructure work can be planned at the ward level, then ward after ward after ward, the entire city works in cohesion together. So that is what we set out to do.
We are part of the Mumbai Ahmedabad high-speed rail. Now, this project is going to redefine everything that we know about development, transportation, master planning, urban, everything. Because unlike other rail alignments, this is a brand new alignment, and it's cutting through 1,000 acres of literally virgin land. So now, instead of having a catchment area, we have to create a catchment area, because you're going to zip up and down between Ahmedabad and Mumbai in a matter of hours. We are now looking at what Salil was saying, that we need 25 new cities. We've already got the infrastructure for 10 of them.
Sustainable means what? First question. Sustainable is not rainwater harvesting. Sustainable is not solar panels. This is all to be done by the government, not by architects. Architects have to give sustainable, that has to sustain a living, which has to sustain a commercial premise, which has to sustain.
The summit concluded with a compelling dialogue on high-performance buildings for a sustainable future.
Just in India, in the next few years, by 2030, right, the population is, urban population of India will roughly be little less than half of the total population of India, which means that, I shudder to think about it, 9 more Bengalurus will come. That is I come from Bangalore. So Bangalore is already at 1.3 crore today. Population, 9 more we have to build just to take care of migration into the cities, right? So the question remains to, as all of us as architects, engineers, as well as related construction professionals, what are we going to build as we go along?
Sustainability is the keyword today for survival, enhancing your lifespan on this planet. It's an attitude, it's a kind of thought process, it's a kind of commitment which eventually all professions on different fields need to adopt. And as architects and planners, it becomes more important because that's where the whole development starts from, whichever field it may be.
We have that ability as architects to first incorporate passive design into the design, and then the engineering takes over, where you can supplement the energy demand through solar and through other things. And it's not just energy, it's also down to water, it's down to waste, it's down to building materials. Often we say that build just as much as you need to. So being efficient, being frugal is a very large part of being efficient as well.
So it's very important first to define your sustainability goals at every project level. And they are absolutely different, they are absolutely unique to that project and very specific to that project. And every project could have a focus in terms of maybe energy, maybe water, maybe waste, or an overall approach towards net zero. So I believe one is having an integrated design approach, and B is actually jotting down your sustainability goals right at the beginning of each project. That will set a roadmap to every building which happens and everybody working together.
From a project management perspective, where we get into the actual delivery and execution more than participation in the design, my only suggestion would be is, I think the entire exercise of designing and high performance, it's only successful when you execute it the same way. It doesn't happen without that. And there are a lot of controls that are needed to make that happen. And many a times I find out the architects are not even involved at the construction stage and after the design, to be very honest. So the vision should not remain unfulfilled.
Many times I came across a situation where, people take it only one side of the glass. The other side is what are the advantages. So where the forum like this, educating the clients on right matter, why we need to select, how it is advantageous, how they can use this glass building as a USP, balancing the right window to wall ratio, using right shading devices. All these features are ultimately enhancing building performance.
When I say future proofing our buildings, there are different meaning of future proofing. Future proofing means we should be aware of the changes that are happening in the market, in the society. Firstly, the population is increasing. And secondly, the income of the population is increasing. So now there is more demand for air conditioning. And the expected increase in air conditioning demand is about 8 times, 800% increase over the next 20 years. So that's a drastic, very significant. And we just don't have the resources to meet that energy demand. So we have to be careful about managing that change as well. And our consumer preferences are also changing to a certain extent, maybe not as much as we want to. When I mean consumer preference, or what I mean to say is people are preferring to buy more green, more sustainable properties over a non-green or non-sustainable property.
So MEP is very important topic, and I think all of us have to come together and be part of every decision we take about MEP systems, because when you talk about sustainable MEP, once you design a building with sustainable MEP, you can in any building with a sustainable MEP design, you can by 20 to 30% you can do the energy saving, and with water saving you can go for 30 to 40%. So that much impact MEP designers are making.
Is today's form of sustainability really sustainable? Because what sustainability actually means, it is to sustain. If we have to put a lot of effort to do something, we tend to lose the pace and the grip on it. So if the sustainability becomes the habit, then only it will be sustained for the longer time.
Build India Vision, an initiative by FOAID. Exclusive media partner, CNBC TV18.